I'm Christian Cagnol. I'm working for Axway as a Senior Director for Strategic Partners and covering the DACH region. And I would say the direct interface for adorsys into the Axway ecosystem.
Hey guys, very nice to make your acquaintance. Thanks for taking the time to join our session here at this Barcamp. My name is Tim Zivenich. I'm Principal Pre-Sales Architect for Axway in Germany. I'm focused on our API management product line. So that means everything that has to do with APIs is basically something that falls under my responsibility, which is also why I'm here today to talk to you guys about the marketplace. I mostly work for our DACH customers, sometimes also for Benelux or for Nordics, but my focus is here in Germany. And I'm very happy to talk to you guys about our marketplace today. Christian, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I just do a brief introduction on Axway. So if you can just move one slide ahead, then Tim.
I sure can.
Yeah, basically, Axway is a leader. We've been here for 20 years, and we've been very involved in helping companies to, I would say, implement digital transformation. And actually, our main focus is around integration software. We have, I would say, professional services capability, but we're not a service company first and foremost. So really our work is to provide the best possible integration software that our customers can use and that our partners can deploy and help our customers deploy. So a few numbers on the next slide. We are a worldwide company, but we are first and foremost also a European company. We are listed on Euronext. We are registered in France. This can have some effect as there are some EU regulations that can also influence the capabilities that are needed by customers. Main offices are listed here, so essentially you see that there's a strong focus from the red dots on Europe, but we're also present, I would say, on 4 out of 5 continents, and our revenue is 400 million. I will not I will let you read the different other numbers. One thing important, I think, in the adorsys context is that one of our key industry is banking and financial services. So this is probably worldwide the area where we are where we have the most customers, and but we're also present in the different verticals. So as you can see from the slide. One more slide for me, and then I hand over to Tim. Basically, we said that I said that we are an integration company. This means several things, and here you have, I would say, just an overview of our software capabilities. We are focusing today on the Amplify product line, and specifically in the marketplace on the Amplify product line. But you can see that we have also 4 different pillars. MFT for managed file transfer, B2B, which is something very big in Germany, as a matter of fact, because you have a lot of industries, specifically the automotive industries. And this is also where we have our e-invoicing capabilities. AFA is a little bit specific. It's a financial accounting hub, so it's really dedicated, I would say, to the financial organizations inside companies. Not only finance companies, but financial officers inside many companies. And what we call specialized products is a series of different products which help, which are not really centered on a specific task. One of them is a scheduler, which is very well also introduced to the market. So that may be something we can discuss in another session. Tim, please go ahead and present, I would say, the Amplify product line and with the marketplace focus.
Okay, happy to. So yeah, as I've told you guys already, I'm basically working the whole Amplify product line. So this is it. This is the 3 products that our Amplify product line holds. It's Amplify Integration, Amplify API Management, and the Amplify Marketplace. I'll briefly touch upon Amplify Integration and API Management in the end of my presentation. So don't bother about them. This session is going to be about the marketplace. So, well, let's talk about the marketplace. What's the marketplace basically doing? So what's the purpose of the marketplace? Basically, the idea of the marketplace is to just gather every API that you have in your organization, every integration asset, and have it in one central place where you can then offer it to your consumers, those consumers being internal or external. But the idea is to have one place from which you offer all of your APIs that you hold in your organization. And what we see in the market is whenever we ask companies, what are the APIs that you have in your organization? If you were asked to find one specific organization, one specific API in your organization, would you be able to locate it? Or do you have multiple gateways, multiple teams working on APIs? And it's usually kind of chaos. And it's sort of like finding Waldo in this picture. When you ask companies to find one specific API in their organization, oftentimes development teams just get the order to create a new API, create a new interface, and they have no idea whether something they might be able to reuse or something that actually holds the exact same capability has already somehow been implemented by another team or another tool, and they might be able to just use what they already have. And instead, they end up just creating it again themselves, which of course, states a problem for the organization because you have a duplicate amount of implementation, of development, duplicate maintenance, and it's also posing a security threat because obviously you can't secure anything that you don't know is there. So, by the way, if you find Waldo in this picture, I didn't. So please let me know. Then I can finally sleep well again because I keep looking for him and I keep missing him. So but that's basically it about the marketplace, about the problem of locating APIs. Now, how do we solve that with the marketplace? Basically, what we do is we have an agent system. What you can see down here is federated data planes. Federated data planes means that our agents are deployable on vendor agnostic API gateways, meaning that we support basically any vendor's API gateways. You can see, for example, in here an AWS gateway, you can see MuleSoft, you can see Istio. So this is basically federated data planes running in an organization where you have all of those gateways running and you install the agent. And what the agents do is they basically log into the gateway and they can check what APIs are published on this gateway. And if they have, as soon as they have that information, they then send it to the central management plane. Now that doesn't only work for API gateways, because what we think is a huge issue for many organizations is what we call unmanaged APIs. And if we talk about unmanaged APIs, what we mean is APIs that are not published through a gateway. So they are not secured. They are directly building a channel from the consumer to the backend, meaning there is no proxy, no intermediate solution, and any consumer that sends a request is directly channeling your backend. Now that might pose huge threats because what we've seen is that there is large shadow IT in large organizations where they don't even know how many APIs they have exposed without having them managed through a gateway. And we think that's a huge threat because, as I've already said, you can't secure anything that you don't know is there, right? So we have an agent that does exactly that. It discovers any communication that is happening directly from a consumer to your backend by checking your network traffic, and it discovers that, and it also sends that data to the central management plane alongside all of the data that you get from your federated data planes, from your API gateways that you have deployed in your organization. All of the data is sent into the central management plane, and it basically at that point forms your single point of truth for all of your APIs, meaning that whenever your team gets the order to create a new API or to create a new integration capability, what they can just do is go into the marketplace as an internal consumer and check out, hey, is there anything that might hold this capability? Is there anything in there that might be interesting for me? So those messages that those agents send up is basically just services running in your organization, and basically all of the services host APIs that are running in your organization. And when we think about the marketplace, as I've said, gathering the data is only the first step, because we always have the end in mind, which is you want to offer those APIs to your consumers, meaning that we have to somehow get from these discovered services to something that you can actually offer to those consumers. And that's what we call productization. So you take those discovered services that are laying in the marketplace, unfiltered, and you somehow need to think, what is valuable for me? What is something that I actually want to offer? Because you might end up just having a lot of trash in there. You might end up having a lot of stuff in there that you're not using, that you completely were unaware of that it even exists. And of course, you now have to somehow filter and kind of building blocks that you want to use for your products that you want to offer to your consumers. And now think of those next steps sort of like cooking. So those discovered services is basically you thinking, ooh, I'm hungry. And then you just open up your fridge, you just open up your storage unit and you check out what's there. And you think, oh yeah, I'm in the mood for spaghetti. So out of your storage unit, you take your spaghetti. Out of your fridge, you take the meats, you take tomatoes, whatever. Those discovered services is basically you opening up your storage unit, opening up your fridge, and just checking out what's there. You taking out all of the ingredients that you need to prepare your spaghetti. That's basically taking those discovered services, grouping them into assets. So you have in mind you want to create spaghetti, and you take out the ingredients that in the sum, if you cook them together, can prepare spaghetti for you. So that's basically taking discovered services and creating assets out of them. Now, of course, you just taking out the ingredients doesn't magically make them spaghetti. It would be nice if it would be that way. That will make my life certainly a lot easier, but it is not. So what has to happen is you have to cook them. And that's basically creating a product out of those assets. So you open up your storage unit, took out everything that you needed in order to prepare your spaghetti, you cooked everything, and now you have this product. You have spaghetti, you can finally eat it, perfect. But what you want to do in the marketplace is, of course, offer it to your consumers. So you have the spaghetti being a productized API, a productized integration asset, and now you want to somehow bring it to your consumers. And what the marketplace does in that regard is you can create what we call marketplaces on the platform and just put your products onto there. So that means you have multiple marketplaces to choose from. You can have a marketplace for your internal consumers where you put all of those finance APIs, for example, that are for your internal finance systems, where you put everything that you have to interconnect your internal systems. So everything that is relevant for internal users, you can put on an internal marketplace. And everything that is interesting for a broader audience, for a public audience, for your partners, whoever, you can put that on a public marketplace. So you kind of have to choose, or you don't have to choose, but you have the opportunity to choose for each product. Do I want to publish it on an internal marketplace, on an external marketplace, on both? Do I not want to publish it at all at the moment? And of course, in those products, you can have stuff like implementation documentation, functional documentation, support contacts. You can integrate hooks that directly allow you to contact the support contact. So in case anything goes wrong, you can directly contact somebody like, hey, I want to integrate with a solution, but it doesn't work. Can you help me out? It's urgent. That's what you can do. And so that's what the marketplace offers. And now you're probably asking yourself, what does the solution look like? Because if I think about a solution, I always want to know what it looks like, because the look and feel is, for many, many people, just as important as the functionality is. So what the marketplace looks like is this. No worries, I'm going to zoom in because you probably can't really see it properly that way. So this would be a landing page. This is what we call Amplified Finance. It's a demo environment that we created with sort of a financial institute in mind that might be using the marketplace. So it's absolutely just a mock-up. It's no confidential data. That's why I can share it. And that's what it looks like. And the nice thing about the marketplace is it's completely rebrandable. It supports white labeling, meaning that if any other customer was to implement this marketplace, it would look a whole lot different, and you probably not be able to tell that this is the same solution running the marketplace for those two different companies. But what you can see on the landing page is basically down there, there's a call to action asking for a demo. You have product categories because you can put your products, of course, into categories. You can sort of organize them. You can give them tags. So when consumer comes into the marketplace searching for a specific product, they can just search for a couple of keywords and directly find the products that they want to have. You can see that you could potentially click on those categories, or you can just on the top right corner click on see all. And what that would bring you to is basically this image where you can browse all of the categories. So if you're a consumer and you're looking for a specific API, say for any finance system, and you don't see it at the first glance, you can just check out all of the categories that are there. And instead of just going through everything that is available, going through searching something, and you might end up not finding it, you can just check the categories and you can see, there's financial data exchange. Okay, I can check that. Or if there is no category that fits the solution that you're looking for, what you can also do is just browse all of the products. So of course, that's something that is also up to the consumer. You can navigate the marketplace in many, many different ways. But the important thing is not every product is visible to every consumer. So in the moment that you publish something to a marketplace, being internal or external, you can, of course, drill down on who will be able to see the product. Because if you publish something on an external marketplace, it's not meant to be for the broad public, of course. It might just be for one partner that has a couple of business units that need to integrate with a certain of yours, with a certain system of yours. And that's when you can allocate the product to a certain organizational unit in a marketplace, meaning that only this organizational unit, only those consumers would see it if they were browsing through those products in the marketplace. So what is the marketplace? What are the key features, basically? As I've already said, you have unified data in a central place. You connect all of your federated data planes to your marketplace. Plus, you have the unmanaged agent that is checking the network traffic, sending you information about APIs that are unmanaged and not managed by any API gateway. You put that also in a central place. That means that the marketplace or the platform at that moment in time becomes the single point of truth for all of your integration assets. You have central governance and linting, meaning that in the moment that this data, this information arrives in the marketplace, you can have linting rules that check a couple of things. You can have linting rules for design. You can have linting rules for security. What does that mean? That means that you can create rules that are executed whenever a new record arrives in the marketplace. And those rules can then give the asset that has just arrived in the marketplace a grade in terms of how compliant it is with your design or with your security capabilities. So for example, what a design rule could be is something like it supports multiple backends, for example. Is that compliant? Yes or no? No would be a worse grade. Yes would be a better grade. A security linting rule could be, does it support OAuth? That's good. Does it support basic auth? That's not so good. So in that way, you define rules for whatever your company expects from its APIs. And then the marketplace gives you, at the first glance, directly a grade for those linting rules. So it directly says, this API has an A in design and it has an A in security. Okay, it might be fine to just publish it onto the marketplace. But if you have an API that has a D in design and an F in security, you might be well advised to, before you publish it, just go in there and check out why the security is that bad, maybe enhance that, maybe it's an unmanaged API. So first of all, put it in an API gateway, and then you publish it to the marketplace. So that's very, very interesting. And we've recently had a customer engagement where that was basically the key selling point, because the customer had a huge shadow IT. They didn't know what was out there in their organization, and they wanted the unmanaged agent to just tell them what is out there, tell them what they don't know, and then use the linting feature in order to tell them which of those unmanaged APIs are the ones that are worst protected, because they might be the largest loopholes in your organization. And then they just went top to bottom. So they went, everything that has an F in security is the first thing that we will patch up until there is nothing that has an F. And then we will go for E, and then we will go for D. And so from the bottom up, they basically secured their whole organization. They basically closed down all of their loopholes. And that's why that was the key feature for them. Also, you have multiple marketplaces for different audiences, which is something that I briefly touched upon too. You can have an internal marketplace for everything that has to be integrated with internally, because we know that many organizations also struggle to interconnect their own systems, not only integrate with partners, with public or with other clients of them or whatever. So not only with externals, but also internally. You have a huge number of internal systems that need to communicate with each other. So jumping back and forth between specifications and tools to just interconnect them, we know that that is a large pain for our customers. So you can have an internal marketplace that is just basically one point where anybody that wants to connect any two internal systems can just log into, and then he can just basically see what is available and directly integrate with those systems. And another key feature of the marketplace is monetization of those digital products. Let's take the example of the spaghetti again. You cooked it, and it's not for you; it's for somebody else. So why not do it like a restaurant does it and sell the spaghetti? So that's what you have to have in mind when we talk about digital products. Those products shouldn't be offered for free. If a product or an integration asset of yours, so an API, for example, is providing value for a consumer, why wouldn't you get something back? And when we ask that question in customer engagement, usually you can see the brain running, because the person that you're talking to most of the time hasn't thought about it that way, because you just have APIs. You can just give them away as a benefit to somebody who wants to integrate with you, right? They're necessary and somehow modern. You have to have them because somebody asks for them. But what if we tell you that this is something valuable that you can actually build revenue upon? That's what you when you can see the opposition always starting to think like, that is true. We do provide some additional value and we get nothing in return. So we have the cost of creating this API and just building around all of those great capabilities that our customers asked for, our partner asked for, whoever, and we get nothing in return. So we just have the cost and they have the benefit. So what we think is something worth thinking about, worth considering, is monetizing those digital products. And that's what you can do with the marketplace. The marketplace natively supports billing solutions, and it can directly integrate payment plans with your digital product in the moment that you offer them on the marketplace. Now, on an internal marketplace, that might have limited capabilities, because on an internal marketplace, you usually don't pay for the stuff that you integrate with. Although there might be exceptions for that. But on an external marketplace, you certainly have some APIs. Most companies definitely have some APIs that are providing such a value, such an additional value for their consumers, that those consumers might be willing to pay for it at a certain extent. So what you can do in the marketplace is kind of ramp up the payment plan. So you can have, like, say, 10,000 calls a month for every API free. So anybody can use it. Everybody can see how awesome the APIs are. But as soon as somebody starts to be a more heavy user, you can start billing them for it. So you can say, okay, cool that you have 10,000 calls, but this is your 10,000th first call. So now apparently you're really using this API a lot. So please pay for it. For example, in a, I don't know, silver membership, you pay $10 a month. And then if you start using it more than 100,000 times a month, you start to pay $100. That's how you can sort of ramp it up. Of course, you can also break it down to functionalities within APIs, because we know that some APIs are just very large and hold a large number of different functionalities within the API. So what you can also do is say, okay, you can use the whole API for free, but there's one function that's something that is so additional, that's something that is so specific to you, you have to pay for it. That's also something that you can do in the marketplace. What you can do is you can have a hard cap or a soft cap, meaning whenever somebody reaches the threshold of their membership, the next call can be blocked, hard block, and it can just return an error message saying you ran out of your subscription. Please ramp up your subscription before you send your next call. Or what you can do is have a soft cap that says, oh, you just exceeded your subscription. Please reach out to us to ramp up your subscription. But still the call gets through, because just interrupting any running systems, any interconnections might cause huge pain in somebody's business flow, and you don't want that to happen. So you have those two options. But that's also a key feature of the marketplace, right? So you have all of the data in a central place, whether it's unmanaged or managed. Then you can directly execute linting rules. You can do central governance, and then you can publish them on different marketplaces for different audiences of yours, and you can monetize them if they are valuable. Many companies are not at that step of the maturity yet, but we can see more and more companies are actually reaching that. So just putting it in the context of our Amplify product line portfolio, Amplify integration is basically a system that allows you to orchestrate systems and build APIs in sort of a low-code, no-code approach, with just building an application flow and then exposing it as an API endpoint. So this is system orchestration and API creation. Then you have Amplify API management right in the center, and it's all about securing APIs. It's an API gateway. You probably know the story. You have API definitions, you upload them in an API gateway, you secure them, and then you can publish them, for example, on a marketplace, which is about governing and monetizing APIs. And now, Christian, I believe that you can take it from here again.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Yeah, just one example. I think this is something that also Tim presented when he presented the screens from the marketplace. This is more like, I would say, a use case. In this case, we are speaking about vehicle leasing, and you can see the notion of assets, which Tim has explained, the notion of product. And basically, there are three products. Actually, there were two products in the first place. One is very much about client profile, so it's getting information on the account. It's maybe checking the IBAN if we do B2C, scoring, is this customer reliable, etc. So that's what we will call one product, one digital product. Then there's a product which is credit activation. So we know that the customer is trustworthy, but then we need to provide the lease quote. We need to maybe suggest a credit as well for him to finance that. So that would be another product. And then maybe in a second step, the same company would say, oh, but I really like to provide my customers with an insurance capability. And in this case, they might create a new insurance product, insurance digital product, that can be offered to all of their customers or part of their customers. And of course, then this links into their own portals, I would say, so that will be able to be leveraged inside the company's front end to their customers. Or it can be also linked to an aggregator that will just use that to present the company's offering in a broader list of companies that do vehicle financing. And of course, it can also go into mobile applications. But just one case, and This is very high level, so probably a little bit caricatural, but this is just to give you an idea of how this can be used in a finance use case. Then I will go maybe into some higher, broader considerations with the next slides, which is that at some point we are willing to provide I would say, our products, our Amplify products, in a cloud agnostic way and in various deployment capabilities. So of course, one thing is on-premise. On-premise is, I would say, the natural mode of consumption from our customers from many years ago. And we provide our software, whether it's virtual appliances, whether it's software, whether it's container. And that's one way of putting our products to the market. The other one is what we call private customer cloud, which means it does not mean private in the sense that the customer or the enterprise built its own cloud. It's pretty much a cloud that is not an Axway cloud, different from the option on the right. And there we want to provide our software, I would say, on every possible cloud that the customer could use. Of course, we have the big hyperscalers like Amazon, Microsoft Azure, Google. But what we are doing more and more is also offering capabilities in the case where the customer needs to have a trusted cloud, a sovereign cloud in the European regulation, I would say, exception of the term. You might have heard about a certification which is being put in place called UCS. You have C5 in Germany as well. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. And this is something we are taking our products to. It does not mean that everything is available for now on sovereign clouds, but that's the direction we're moving. The last possibility is what we call the Axway cloud, which is at this point, and this one is available on AWS mainly, but also for some products on Azure. And this is really a cloud which is being handled, managed by Axway, pretty much in a sense, in a SaaS approach to your customers. And of course, you can combine the different capabilities. So you could have, or your customer could have some part of their digital assets which are in the Axway cloud. They could have their own, I don't know, Microsoft or AWS cloud, for instance, and then they can have some things still on premise. Definitely, this is something we're doing for the public sector, where maybe they were less keen on implementing clouds in the first place. And so now we see a public sector where they still have a lot of on-premise, but they're going to the cloud, I would say, progressively. The next page is a little bit about our customer references. So it's not, of course, there are 8 logos or 8 customer cases on that. So it's not the totality, it's not exhaustive with the dark market. It's the customers who have produced use cases, testimonies, etc. This you can find on our resource page, and I just listed a few there. You see that we have some in banking and financing. We have one in which agreed to testify that was in public sector. We have more industrial companies as well. Some of them are blinded, like this leading insurer in Germany. He said, yes, I can provide some use case, but I don't want my logo to appear. So that's why you don't see the logo. But I guess you know which kind of insurers you have in Germany and Switzerland, so you can maybe figure this out. And then you have also some pharmaceutical companies like Novartis. All of this is available on our resource page. So if you go to the next step, then you see some of these resources. We have, of course, this is the link to the API management page on the web. We have many resources, including the ones with customer refs that I just presented, which are available at resources.axway.com, social networks, blogs, videos. This is available to the general public, I would say. As a partner, you have also access to specific partner resources, but I will not mention that here. as the Barcamp is going to be made available to a larger public, if you are interested in finding out the partner resources, then you can go to internally to the people who manage the relationship with us, or you can come back to me to know more about that. That's pretty much all we had to say. I have a wrap-up slide that I think many times customers tell us what are your specific values, things that you can do better than your competition, or things which are unique values for us. And there are many, of course, but I listed 4 on this one. The first one, which I think is going to be more and more important, is the fact that we are a European company. And most of our competitors come from outside of Europe. A lot of them come from the US, of course. But as European regulations strengthen a little bit, then this is something that is going to be important. The other one is about the fact that we are a leader. We are recognized as leader for API management in the broad sense of the term by Gartner and Forrester. And typically Gartner flags us as the most innovative approach in API management globally. And this is typically because we have such offerings as the marketplace, which Tim presented, that we are positioned to the extreme right of the Gartner quadrant. Security is also something which is very important, and we're the only API vendor to be certified EAL4+. EAL4+ is part of a common criteria. It's something which is very enforced in sensitive companies, in sensitive markets, like aerospace, like of course military, and this type of approach. So this is a strong differentiator. And the other one is back to this notion of European cloud, sovereign cloud, etc. So we are waiting for the UCS paper to be certified by the European Union. It was supposed to be in June, now it's in July, but certainly it will be the case this year. And we already took some steps there, as we are running on one of the European clouds like OVH Cloud. And we have the label, the Secnum Cloud label, which is a French version, I would say, of C5, with maybe even more drastic constraints on it. And so that would be my 4 elements to differentiate Axway. They are not the only ones, of course, but these were the ones I wanted to stress today. And this allows us to provide a strong, efficient, recognized solution to our customers and to our partners, but also something which is lasting and which is, I would say, with a lot of perennity, which is not always the case in this domain, as you see that many companies have been bought, are being bought, and therefore we have a strong, I would say, a financial backup, which makes us confident that Axway will still be there in the next years and will not be bought by whoever. I'm sure you have some examples in mind where this happened recently. That was all for me. So I think maybe that will be the conclusion, at least, of our presentation.
Yeah, thanks everybody for their attention. Thanks for joining this session.